If you type in Simon Dan in the YouTube search bar, you are met with an absolute smorgasbord of videos. Roughly only 1 in 5 are actually videos released by me, and the rest are 90% abuse towards me. Have a look if you've got a spare 10 minutes and you want to giggle. One of them, however, caught my eye. I clicked on it and I wasn't disappointed. If you go as far as reading the description, you'll be even more amused. Let's take a trip into the deep dark void that is Scientific Lee's cranial cavity. Hello all and welcome to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. I'm delighted you can join me. Apologies for the late upload, I've not been well, but I'm starting to feel a lot better. Yes, Scientific Lee feels like he has debunked me, so I thought what better way is there to spend 15 minutes than take a look at his valiant efforts. Lee, I put myself at your mercy.
Now, I was going to show a lot of Dan's clips where he abuses people who don't believe what he believes. I decided to just put up the true explanation for gravity. It shows he is a trumped up little man, bellowing stupidity and insults.
Trumped up little man? I'm 6'3". Oh, you were talking figuratively. Right. I don't think I bellow though.
When in fact you, Dan, are incorrect on many things and what you believe is unexplained, magical nonsense. But what else can you expect from a foolish, talking, indoctrinated para-atheist?
What does me being an atheist have to do with it? I think the real reason that Lee is so butthurt is starting to sneak in.
Well, straight away Dan makes the silly statement that truth runs the world. A bit childish of him, and so his ignorance is immediately revealed that he thinks that if you have the right answer, the world changes.
Well, no, I just think if you've got the right answer, then you've got the truth. It's as simple as that.
In his ignorance, he forgets men are arseholes.
Speak for yourself.
And many have invested in teaching false science on purpose. It's so the herd stay stupid. Can't have the workforce cattle uprising now, can we? Okay, so first off, let's find out how gravity works. Let's look at the explanation of gravity. How does gravity actually work? Gravity is a very important force. Every object in space exerts a gravitational pull on every other, and so gravity influences the path taken by everything travelling through space. It is the glue that holds together entire galaxies. It keeps planets in orbit. Well, that's no explanation.
Well, it's an explanation of sorts, but it seems it's not the explanation you're looking for, so please continue.
Just a lot of magical glue and influence. What does gravity explain? Gravity is a force pulling together all matter, which is anything you can physically touch, so that's all atoms. The more matter, the more gravity. So things that have a lot of matter, such as planets and moons and stars, pull more strongly. Mass is how we measure the amount of matter in something. Okay, so still no explanation of how it works, the mechanics. What is gravity? Short answer. Gravity, also called gravitation, is a force that exists among all material objects in the universe, all atoms. For any two objects or particles having non-zero mass, the force of gravity tends to attract them towards each other. So we've got attraction and force and pull, so no explanation. Oh, here we go. Hang on. Gravitational constant is a speed? Is that a number based on weight? So no mechanics to how gravitation works, why we're on the ground and not in the air.
Yes, this is the universal gravitational constant, experimentally confirmed by Lord Henry Cavendish in 1798. This is a physical constant. You don't become a physical constant unless you are a fundamental value existing as universal in nature and unchanging over time. It works in every equation it is placed in. You simply can't refute it.
So far we've got a number. Okay, here we go. Gravity is a force that tries to pull two objects towards each other. Anything which has mass also has a gravitational pull, which is all atoms, apparently. The more massive an object is, the stronger its gravitational pull is. Earth's gravity is what keeps you on the ground and what causes objects to fall. Well, the moon doesn't do that. The moon seems to be pushing away from us, otherwise we'd pull together, right?
This is true, the moon is drifting away from us at a rate of 3.8 centimetres a year. But what our friend Scientific Lee doesn't realise is that this is because of gravity. The moon's gravity has an effect on the rotating Earth. Tides from the oceans cause drag and thus slow the Earth's spin rate by a tiny amount. The resulting loss of angular momentum is compensated for by the moon speeding up and thus moving further away.
All right, big G versus little g. Obviously, it's very important to distinguish between big G and little g. They are obviously very different physical quantities. G equals the universal gravitational constant. It's the same everywhere in the universe, so I have to believe, and G equals that number times mass and kilograms and everything else. So it's a number of something. It always has the same value at every location everywhere. I can accept that, sure, whatever. Little g equals the acceleration due to gravity. So the acceleration due to gravity is also a number. So we have a number to explain how fast things are falling.
Well, what else do you want us to use? The acceleration rate due to gravity is precisely given by green bananas?
That's all I'm getting here. There's no mechanics. Things just fall in this magical universe, apparently. I don't believe that. And so we find no explanation for how gravity works. They explain no mechanism, except as a speed at which something falls, which is not an explanation. And saying a bend in space is not an explanation either. Mainstream world taught science fails at explaining gravity. Now let's look at magnetism. Let's look at the explanation of magnetism.
Oh no, don't tell me he's one of these magnetic universe nuts.
Magnets can either attract or repel each other. Oh, well, there's our moon and sun and all the other planets not all being pulled together. A permanent magnet is an object that produces a magnetic field around itself. It is this field that enables them to stick together to each other and to some types of metal. Specifically, they stick to ferromagnetic materials like iron and things that contain iron, such as steel. So they stick to each other in magnetism, do they? So no explanation yet. Why do magnets work? So magnets are made by putting a magnetic object under a magnetic field. This makes all the domains spin in the same direction, which is what defines a magnet. Also, electricity running through a wire creates a magnetic field as it has a flow of electrons in one direction. Well, that's not an explanation of how it's flowing and how they're spinning. Why are they spinning? What's causing the domain spin, which is defining the magnet? Why do magnets stick together? This is what gives the magnet its special power of attraction, more magic. When the North Pole touches the South Poles, the magnetic domains are all in the same direction. What's causing this same direction? And the magnets stick together. When a North Pole is near another North Pole, the arrows are in opposite directions and the magnets repel each other. How? How are they repelling or attracting? There has to be a mechanism pulling and pushing.
The following explanation is taken from the website physicsforkids.com. You know about charged particles. There are positive and negative charges. You also know that positive charges are attracted to negative charges. A French scientist named André-Marie Ampère studied the relationship between electricity and magnetism. He discovered that magnetic fields are produced by moving charges, current, and moving charges are affected by magnets. Stationary charges, on the other hand, do not produce magnetic fields and are not affected by magnets. Two wires with current flowing, when placed next to each other, may attract or repel like two magnets. It all has to do with moving charges.
Now it's time for my explanation of gravity.
This should be interesting.
So I put up this video on July 20th, 2017, showing a heteromag formation, as explained on many of my videos, which was showing that there are Birkeland currents on a magnet, and that energy moves matter. And on December the 4th, 2018, I made a video showing how a magnet pulls in matter. I've said it on many videos. Basically, this is again a heteromag formation, as explained on many of my videos. So there's a process, a mechanical process, for why those spheres are being formed to make a heteromag formation. And that is double helix energy theory, given to me by the God of the Bible in visions in 2014 for 3 weeks, day and night, didn't sleep for 9 days.
That was probably a bad bout of the flu.
Energy and matter are separate. Energy attracts matter, matter covers energy, energy moves matter. Matter is dead and cannot move itself. Energy moves matter. Electricity binds matter, while electromagnetism inflates and rotates matter by double helix energy flow, which is electricity and electromagnetism rolling together.
You mashed some words together there to make a theory. Please, I invite you to submit your theory to Nature magazine so it can be peer reviewed. I wouldn't hold your breath though.
And they are a double helix vortex to a double helix Ouroboros field and back to a double helix. No magical toruses here. Has to have an in and an out. The path of magnetism becomes inverted and reflected after passing through the Ouroboros field, which is the inertial plane of a magnet. Same as light through a prism. All these things are shown on my other videos. So, electromagnetic radiation from space becomes electrical sonoluminescence in the core of our planet, which then becomes Earth's magnetism as it radiates the same energy back out of our planet, which is how all magnets work, as I have explained and drawn on previous videos.
For those of you who don't know, sonoluminescence is a mysterious phenomenon whereby sound is essentially turned into heat and light inside a bubble. And that is his explanation for Earth's magnetic field. Lee, I'm clinging on for dear life here, buddy.
The shape of magnetism is a set of clockwise and counterclockwise helixes. 2 fingers out of a magnet. There are many, but the starting point is one set, which becomes a halo wave. One turns clockwise and one turns counterclockwise. When set together, their internal rotation, coupled with the actual helix opposing rotations, forms a sphere of matter. It creates spheres in liquids, or moves of sphere of matter.
What?
Which is every single atom and particle, because they all have an electromagnetic field.
No, every atom does have the potential to be magnetic, but it depends entirely on the motion of the electrons. Their spin and orbital motions, for example. Atoms themselves can have slight charges, but then we're talking about ions.
Moving spheres of matter. You remember this, right? Every object in space exerts a gravitational pull with there's no explanation. And so gravity influences the path taken by everything travelling through space, but I've just shown that it's electromagnetism. It's the glue that holds entire galaxies together and keeps planets in orbit, which is what I've said electromagnetism does. So, what moves matter? Electromagnetism moves matter, as shown on video.
Now don't get me wrong here, electromagnetism is one of the 4 fundamental forces of nature, along with strong nuclear, weak nuclear, and gravity. The key difference is that electromagnetism only acts on things that have an electrical charge. Now the Earth's surface does have a slight negative charge, but the whole Earth itself has a charge of 0. Gravity acts on things that have mass, and wouldn't you know, the Earth has mass.
This is how the whole universe works. You can deny it all you want. Let's say you give it a go. So I have explained how all matter is moved. So if gravity was actually electromagnetism separating all matter and pulling it down to Earth, I should be able to recreate it with the simple experiment to show the same observations. Correct?
That's just rain.
And so water reacts the same way when within an electromagnetic domain.
Lee, water has a net charge of 0. The Earth has a net charge of 0. Please tell me how electromagnetism would make this work.
Water is pulled up by trees by the same method. Radiation by input sun creates an output by the tree, causing reverse gravity, which is in fact energy movement of an EM field. The trees that has accepted energy from the sun, and its third law of Newton's reaction is to push out an EM field. And so water is impulsed upwards. Water doesn't move upwards by magical capillary action, which again has no explanation, merely words, not explanational mechanics.
Is that a joke? The process by which water moves up a plant is well understood and fully explained in any textbook or website you look at. It's something called cohesion tension theory. As water evaporates through the stomata of the leaves, it creates a negative pressure in the tissues of the xylem, which is a little tube that the water goes up. The negative pressure exerts a pulling force in the xylem and the water is drawn upward, aided by water's cohesive properties. That's just a basic explanation and not even difficult to accept.
Adhesion of water to the walls of a vessel will cause an upward force on the liquid at the edges and result in a meniscus which turns upwards. The surface tension acts to hold the surface intact. Capillary action, magical, occurs when the adhesion, the glue, to the walls is stronger than the cohesive forces between the liquid molecules. So basically saying magical glue moves it upwards.
Well, no, otherwise you're denying the cohesive and adhesive properties of water, which is just moronic.
No. There we go again. Can't dispute it. Both are exactly the same. So conclusion, gravity is a word and a speed and not a force. Electromagnetism is shown to move matter in the exact same manner as Earth's gravity field. And so it can be concluded that gravity is electromagnetic field rotation induced when matter enters the system. And as we're spinning round space in a magnetic field, it's always going on.
Poor conclusion, and I'll tell you why. The wings of an aeroplane generate lift by the way that the air flows across them. They force the air downwards, which generates the lift able to fly. A bird's wing moves the air in almost the exact same way. However, it doesn't mean we can conclude that the best way to make our planes fly is to make the plane's wings flap.
My name is Lee, and I follow the Christ who showed all this to me in visions in 2014 for 3 weeks, day and night. I have shown Simon Dan that he knows zero about magnetic fields or gravity, but then he is just a parrot of indoctrination.
Isn't repeating what you've been shown by a religious figure in some magical vision also indoctrination? Just a thought. Bloody hell, if this guy was any more up his own arse, he'd be tickling his own tonsils. I've had just about enough of scientific Lee. He's about as scientific as Phuket Word, and that's saying something. If you want to check out a real scientist here on YouTube, I thoroughly recommend Bob the Science Guy. He puts out some great stuff. I'll pop the link to his channel in the description. Right, that about wraps up another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday. I have been Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe. I'll see you all on Friday, where love is in the air. See you then.